They pull out with all these bodies into the wadi. The trailer hits a fucking IED and all the dead bodies go flying into the wadi. So now the guys got to get out, sweep everything, and go police call these fucking dead Taliban bodies. It was like the perfect scenario, man, that no one got hurt.
Welcome back to episode 27 of 11 Bang Gang. So I got a special surprise. I got a Navy Corpsman here, Josh Weber. He actually was in the unit that ripped with us in Afghanistan. So at my exact position. So for you 2-4 guys listening, listen up, because this is what happened after we left. So hopefully this is going to be some good stuff. Josh, say what's up to the gang.
Hey, man. Hey, everybody. Happy to be here and be able to tell the story a little bit.
All right. So you were a Navy corpsman, and you were an FMF corpsman, right?
Yep. Okay. Still am.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, he's still in. He's getting ready to rock out here soon. So, okay. For the FMF pin, for the people that don't understand this, I kind of wanted to explain this a little bit as the opening topic and kind of ask you a question. So for those of you who don't know, the Corpsmen have a Fleet Marine Force. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Fleet Marine Force pin, and they have to learn like a ton of Marine Corps knowledge because they're Navy. You know, we do not have medics in the Marine Corps. We use the Navy for our medics. And when you meet a Navy corpsman, you might, if he was greenside and stationed with an infantry unit, you might as well go ahead and say he's a Marine because they eat, sleep, shit, go to combat with us. These dudes are essentially Marines. You know, so, but to get that pin, you guys have to learn like stupid amounts of Marine Corps knowledge that even we don't know. Yeah. So how was that, dude? Like learning all that stuff?
It's a fantastic opportunity for education and hazing. But the Navy has it based off of platforms of where there's like designator pins for everything. So if you see guys on ships, they have the one with the boat, like a surface warfare ship. You'll see submarines, things like that. For us, it used to be just a ribbon. So there would be like guys from back in the 90s, they had an FMF ribbon, and all that was just showing that it was like Navy service to the Fleet Marine Force. And then they adopted the Fleet Marine Force pin. And it's all designed like very, with special meaning and stuff too, like the cross rifles and the Eagle over anchor and the littoral zone is that waves, and then the book is essentially a PQS that you go through. And you got to have people, you got to learn all the information and be able to, basically they hand you a book and you need to be able to spout this stuff verbatim, every little technical detail. And then you data dump it, God willing, at the very end of it, because I don't need to know why an AAV, does whatever 2 miles an hour, in water backwards. Like that's ridiculous and arbitrary information, but you needed to know it. So, but the dudes really respect it because they go through and see your book. And then especially when you're in the field, like, they're taking naps or whatever, getting chow, and you're like sitting there popped out. And usually your senior line corpsman is yelling at you, like, you don't have enough signatures, you fucking bozo. I'm working on it. But yeah, you're constantly learning about stuff. And, some people think it's dumb. I don't, in the way where it's like, that's kind of our indoctrination into you. And also when you see the guy with the FMF pin, like that's a doc that's been around a little bit too. And just as a note, it's the only one that's been issued posthumously. So there are corpsmen that have died in combat that have not had it, and they've been awarded it after the fact. So it's a pretty big deal. It has a lot of sentiment. So
wow, I didn't know anybody had been awarded it posthumously.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man. Yeah. So I remember one of our docs being like, yeah, he had to know like the fuel range of an AV-8B Harrier. And I'm just like, for fucking what?
Yeah.
And he's like, bro, the FMS.
Yeah. We're talking about Archibald Henderson's favorite color and all sorts of weird shit in there. But, it was good to know, man. Yeah.
I remember our young corpsmen used to make fun of us, like when we were boots and they were technically boots, they're young corpsmen, they're studying for the FMF pin, and they're like, y'all don't even know this shit. And we're like, no, we don't. And good luck, bro.
Yeah. So. But you have a murder board before you actually go to your final board, which has to be a senior chief that sits that board. an E8, and so the murder board is just whoever's already got their pen sitting down, and just you're there for hours and stuff. And what am I allowed to say some words on here or whatever?
Oh no, dude, you can
Yeah,
say whatever
okay.
you want, bro.
Well, I was talking about the tank battalion stuff, and I was talking about 120s. He was asking me questions about it on my murder board, and I said I didn't know what Sabo was, so I called it Sabbat, and I was in the front leaning rest being called the Sabbat faggot for a good hour during my murder board. So I've never fucked that up again, but I'll take that. That's a near and dear little story to me of like how to get your FMF pin is not to be the Sabbat faggot.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man, that's good. Yeah, highly respected, man. Every time I see a corpsman, I've actually, like, back in Georgia, I've seen an FMF sticker on the back of somebody's truck, and I'm like, hell yeah, that was an FMF corpsman. That's pretty tight, dude.
It breaks down by platform a little bit too. They don't identify that with the pin. So a guy that's at division will get a pin that's ground combat element. So we study a second half of the book. Guys at the wing study an ACE segment. And then if you're at like MLG or like Med Battalion, they have a logistics one as well. And then MARSOC has a SOC, like a specific version. So we always joke amongst each other is like, oh yeah, we'll see guys that'll be at hospitals like, oh yeah, FMF too. Like, who are you with? And be like, oh, I was with 2-5 and 1-1 and whatever. And they'll be like, oh yeah, I was with fucking logistics. And they're like, I gotta go wash my hands. This fucking guy. Yeah.
They need to designate it a little bit harder.
We've been saying it forever. Like, we should be the only ones with the cross rifles because everybody else, like, give them squirt guns or dildos or something like that.
Yeah, dude. Tell them box faggots they don't need.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, dude. So let's get it rocking. Where are you from and where'd you grow up at?
Well, I'm actually a military brat. So my dad was in the Navy. So I was born in San Jose, California. And then we lived in San Diego for a little bit, San Diego area. And then I was in Washington State, then Nevada, and then ended up I was in middle school. We ended up in Tennessee, and I finished growing up sort of there. And then I joined out of Knoxville and took off. So Tennessee is where I call home, small town, Livingston, Tennessee.
What year did you graduate high school?
2009.
2009. Okay. I'm trying to get an age, man. That's how I figure out where everybody's at. Okay. So growing up, did you know you wanted to join the military or?
Oh yeah. Because I grew up around my dad and all that stuff. He was an aviation guy. He's an ABH. So like, if you ever see the Navy commercial, those dudes in the yellow jackets launching aircraft and stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. That's what my dad did. So, and he was a, Desert Storm dude and everything. So I knew I wanted to join the military, but at a younger age, I'm like, fucking fighter pilot. Hell yeah. I'm around these jets all the time. It's badass. But then, that dream got crushed because apparently you have to be good at math and like, that I was like, nah, we'll settle for something different, more realistic. Man,
I was just talking to that pilot about that last week. Is like, that was my dream. 18 years old, be a fighter pilot, retire, work for Delta. But when I found out I had to go to college, I was like, yep, no, infantry it is, buddy.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
Not a thing.
But. So did you go into the recruiter's office and you were like, yo, I want to be a corpsman? Was that how it went?
Yeah. And when you go to the Navy, everyone's trying to pick you up. I had the Army recruiter bugging the dog shit out of me too. And I was like, no, I'm third generation Navy. I've got to do it. And he's like, hey man, we've got choices. I'm like, I don't suck dicks either. Like there are choices, but some things I know I can say no to. Hindsight, I'd probably be better off in the Army, but that's neither here nor there. So, but yeah, I went in there and they were like, hey, we got, and I scored legally retarded on the ASVAB. I think I got like a 55. I was gaffing off school. I don't give a shit. I graduated high school early. Actually, I went under like an alternative school program so I could like get through, but then I ended up being in debt for super long. But yeah, I just went in there and I knew that I wanted to do like a ground force job. And they were like, obviously you got to be SEAL or SWCC or something like that. I'm like, that takes too long. I'm not that fit, like, I'm whatever. And they're like, hey, we got FMF corpsman. They're like, gun, med bag, Marines. I'm like, all right, can you get me a contract for that? They're like, no, only the reserves get that. So you just have to go contract for HM and roll the dice. And luckily it worked out for me though.
Wow. Okay, so you knew you wanted to join the military. Did 9/11 have any influence? Like, I know we were young when 9/11 happened, but as
Bro.
far as growing up with the war, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that had an influence too.
I have a story for you, man. I grew up with the war, literally. I was 11 years old when 9/11 happened, and I was on the USS Boxer off the coast of Hawaii with my dad on a Tiger
No
cruise.
shit.
Yeah. So I flew into Hawaii. My mom and sister. My dad was coming back from the MEU, and yeah, he had us fly out there and then link up. And usually people bring like their adult, some younger kid maybe every once in a while. But like my dad was the senior chief, the leading chief petty officer over the aircraft carrier or over the flight deck for all like flight operations. So he was like, yeah, I can bring whoever. So he brought me, and we screw around Hawaii a little bit, and then my family, my mom and sister, fly back to California at the time, and me and dad get on the boat and just kind of take off. And we're floating around, and it's like a good sightseeing thing, like the
Oh
Marines are
yeah.
doing, show of force stuff, cool shit, whatever. But I got sick. Whatever fucking old age COVID or something that those freaks brought back from Thailand and stuff I caught. So I was like I was under the weather. And my dad had like a little office space thing, and I remember I'm laying under like one of his coats and stuff, and the 1MC, the loudspeaker thing that's on all the boats, the captain came on, and he was like, "Hey, I need to make an announcement. Like the World Trade Center in New York has been attacked. There's been a terrorist attack. Both World Trade, like if you have family in New York, please don't. I have to. We went into River City, obviously. Like, no contact to be made. He was trying to make that out to let everybody on the ship know, and the the civilians that were riding along. But they were working out how they were going to they're backtracking to Hawaii. So they went off the coast and were trying to get everybody, families off in Hawaii so that they can get out and not be with the boat, because they were planning on taking the Boxer and going back to the Persian Gulf to go kick someone's ass. But there was no one there. And my dad was, the guy that had to go with too. So they're like, what the fuck are we going to do? Yeah, my mom is freaking the fuck out back in California. Our neighbor was a team guy who he got spun up, and she went, next door, and she's like, get my fucking kid off that boat. And he can't do anything about it, But there was like a unique shift. All the rest of the civilians went away for the most part. And then my ass, started feeling a little bit better. But like the days following, like there was no, hey, we're putting on a nice show for the families and stuff. The Marines were on the flight decks, BZO, and like that was my dad's place. So I was able to get up there and walk around them. Those dudes were ready to like go to fucking war, like real quick. Yeah. I was like, shit, like we're in this now. So at 11, that's when I knew, like, I'm too retarded to be a fighter pilot, but whatever these fucking dudes are doing, I need to be a part of for sure.
I can do that. Yeah.
But I guess they decided like the boat, the whole MEU needs to go back to San Diego, drop the Marines back at Camp Pendleton, let them do their thing, and then they can redeploy, figure it all out. So yeah, I was not in the 5th grade like everybody else was at the time. Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool that you got to see the like readiness kick off, because a lot of people, me and you included, were really young. Mm-hmm. I was like 12 at the end of middle school, came home, mom's watching on TV. Okay. I don't know what the fuck the World Trade Center is, but like for you got to see the machine kick on and really start to work. That's really cool, man. That's a cool experience.
My dad told me they were actually, during that deployment leading up to that, they were facilitating some people that were looking for bin Laden leading up to it. I don't know if that, the details on that whole deal, but, and I always thought back on it now, knowing what I know now about the Marine Corps and stuff, that all the seniors for those Marines too, at the time, were Gulf War vets. So they were like, hey, this is fucking real shit. Like, get ready to lock the fuck in. So yeah, it was palpable in the air, man. It was crazy.
Man, that's a cool experience, man. That's really cool. Yeah, my first deployment was a MEU, and it wasn't the Boxer, it was the Richard. So they had swapped the Boxer out for the LHD-6.
The Bonhomme Richard.
Yeah,
that was one of my dad's old boats as well. But
oh, really?
Yeah. Cool. Ironically enough, I did my very first deployment 10 years after that fact on the USS Boxer. I did the 13th MEU. Yeah.
That's funny, man. That's so cool. Okay, so I do have a question. You sign up, and I'm sure you've heard me ask this if you've listened to a couple episodes. So you grew up with the Navy. You've seen your dad do it. You knew. And I'm sure they told you a bunch of stories. How was it going to? Where the hell do y'all go in Chicago for boot
Oh
camp?
yeah, it's Great Lakes, Illinois. So
Yeah.
it's like,
So how was that compared to what you thought it was going to be?
man, at the point of like when I left home at like right at 17 years old, like my parents got divorced and stuff, and then when my dad and I kind of rebuilding things, we started doing what military dad who was usually deployed and gone all the time stuff, and now him and I, and we started butting heads quite a bit. I think he still has a cap on. I can only be around his house for like 3 days before he's like, you got to get the fuck out of here. But I'm just kidding. But yeah, I left the house at 17 anyways, and it was just, there was some typical like military stuff that I already knew. So when I went to Navy boot camp, got there, and I I don't have a lot of like distinct memories of Navy boot camp, like other than you have the original like first night, like what the fuck did I do? Like,
Yeah.
am I about this? Like whatever it is. And then they were playing games a little bit too. 'Cause I went in 2009, and you have like this first night like receiving stuff, and I thought they were playing a prank. Like there's got to be a fucking camera in the room or something, because the guys that are like, hard issue, get all your stuff off, make phone calls. I had no cell phone, and you were supposed to bring a calling card. I didn't have one of those, so I made no phone call. You just,
Shit.
just like, well, whatever, they'll figure it out. So my dad, what am I going to do? Call my dad? He knows what's going on. We're all right. But yeah, I show up, and they're like, getting you undressed, whatever, just going through the processing stuff. Here's a knit bag, throw all that shit in there. But it was a black dude who had to have been from South Carolina or somewhere in the deep South with all gold teeth.
No.
I grew up, in the country too. I don't have the fucking twang, but I can translate it well. And I had no idea what the fuck that guy was talking about. His counterpart was a Navy chief who was from Cebu, the Philippines, and I couldn't understand what mixed Tagalog English he was talking about either. So, and it wasn't just me. There was like 30 of us in there trying to get in process. We're just guessing and getting yelled at. I think they do that on purpose, but I thought I was on a fucking show of some sort, just getting punked.
Man.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm gonna take an interlude here. We're gonna jump into a rabbit hole. I've had a Navy guy on here and asked him the same question. I spent time on a Navy ship, 7 months to be exact. And is the Filipino mafia alive and well like it used to be back in 2000?
I think that they're. I think it is, and I think it's geographical though.
Okay.
They are strong on the West Coast. That's where they're many in numbers. And I think it's still going there. And also the Pacific Fleet in general. I've had some buddies. There's a lot of Filipino corpsmen, and there's some guys that just love to be, like, they haven't been home in years. Like, they take orders to Guam, Okinawa, and then, they'll take a shore duty and go to, I don't know, Yokosuka, Japan or something like that. And then, like, the guys from my first unit, some from, like, 1-1, that was the farthest east they've been stationed.
Wow.
Yeah, so they're doing well out there. I came when I went to 2nd Mardiv at Lejeune. I was like, there's none of them here.
Wow.
It's a different mafia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that I was on Pendleton the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So I obviously, West Coast.
It's this shift in Marines too. There's a whole different demographic of Marines that I had in Pendleton versus Camp Lejeune. Like yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And now I've heard the culture is different. I've heard that from other Marines, because I did 2 enlistments, but they kept me on the West Coast the whole time, which super grateful for. Love San Diego, great place. I'd love to go back, eat a California burrito.
Absolutely.
But that's interesting. Okay, so you finished boot camp. Do you go to? Is there like a corpsman school that you go to next?
So they refer to all of our like MOS schools as A school. Like that's how you get your rate. That's why they call me like HM1. That's because it's my MOS, and then whatever my rank by number. I'm a petty officer first class. So we go to Corpsman A school. At the time, it was at Great Lakes, so I walked across the street. That was it.
Shit.
Yeah, like that's how people know I'm old too. They'll be talking about San Antonio, Texas, where it's been for like 14, 15 years or some shit. And I'll be like, I don't know, I've never been. They're like, what are you talking about? You went to Corps school? I'm like, yeah, I went to Corps school in Great Lakes, Illinois. They're like, oh my God, you old bitch. Yeah. So I went there and spent the winter with the lake effect. Yeah, you have watches pound on your door. You got to go spread salt and shovel sidewalks for at 4 a.m. type deal. It's fun.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you learn anything there?
Not a fucking thing. It's a lot of like clinical, like we just got to push you through and whatever. Like I don't remember my like what things that I took away from in training doesn't happen until 1st Marine Division proper.
Right.
Like I've never considered myself to be a good medic in any respect, but even then I'm like, okay, this is a 4-month stint of just get through this stuff, learn some things about the body. Like, oh, okay, the front's anterior, the back's posterior, cool. And then you go and do a clinical rotation. And I went over to the VA there, which is pretty cool because you got some just senile World War II and Vietnam vets, and man, you just jive with those dudes, and you're kind of helping them out too. So it's a good time.
That's pretty tight.
Yeah.
Okay, so your first unit was 1-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where's one? Is 1-1 in Horno?
Yeah. All 1st Marines.
Okay. So Camp Pendleton, California.
Yeah.
Horno. You show up at the unit. You're brand new. You probably thought you knew something. How'd that go getting to the fleet?
Dude, well, between Corps School and you don't know if you're going to be greenside or not.
Oh.
So it wasn't until the end of Corps School. Luckily, my instructor was a 1-8 Phantom Fury vet, and he knew like the couple of us that were like fucking gung-ho, like, yeah, gotta get greenside. And he's like, yep, infantry dude. So you walk into a room near the end when you're getting ready to graduate. They're like, it's a detailer for us, monitor for you guys. This guy's in Millington, Tennessee, and you just walk in and they're like, hey, talk to chief and we're gonna get you orders. You're like, all right, speakerphone. They're like, chief, hey, we got Weber here. He's like, hey, Weber, what's going on, man? You want to go to 1st Mar Div? I'm like, absolutely, chief. He's like, yeah, you got it. You're gonna have fun out there. And then you just kick rocks. Like, finally, I'm like, blessed, good to go.
Yeah.
But you get orders to another school en route. So you have to go to Field Med, which is Field Medical Training Battalion. There's an East Coast and a West Coast one. And that's 2 months of kind of like our MCT-ish SOI. And again, you learn nothing there except how to deal with stupidity of Marine Corps shit. Just stand in formation for long periods of time. Oh, it's raining. Everyone huddled together and make the gayest little circle possible. Just silly crap. And then from there, you punch out. But I had to wait, actually. So I checked into 1st Mar Div, which is the headquarters at Camp Margarita.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm there as like a PSI, just waiting to go to class up. And they just fuck with you. I got all these tweaked out like corpsmen from Iraq that are just like, fucking, we're doing runs and I'm going to make you, just do all this stupid shit. And then a CTM, the Combat Trauma Management Schoolhouse is there. So you just end up being a patient for all them. But it was wild. But you go to Field Med, and then once you graduate, I check back into 1st Mar Div. And that's kind of like our central hub. The corpsmen all belong to the division surgeon's office, and then you're chopped out to the units within the division. So so they pull me in. They're like 1-1. Okay. Yeah. Half the guys went to 3-5, and I went to 1-1. They were told, you're going to Afghan. I'm like, that's the whole fucking reason I'm here. I'm like, shit. I'm like, what? Well, what's 1-1 doing? Are they going too? They're like, nah, man, 13th MEU, enjoy. It's like, shit. But so you come back, check in. I'm like, fine, I'll just have to eat this, going to 1-1, and then they get you on a little bus or something like that and roll you up to Horno. I fucking pull up to Horno. It doesn't look like in 2010, it did not look like what it does now. It's all rebuilt and stuff. The old like broken out windows, squad bays that have been there since God knows when. There was a fucking car that was on cinder blocks. I'm like, is this Inglewood? Like, where the fuck am I? And they brought us into the BAS and wanted to have us all like central there because you don't know where you're going to go company wise beforehand. So what they did was like an in-dock, they called, where they just hazed the fuck out of us. And then basically there was a draft where senior line corpsmen and guys got to fucking pick who they wanted and shit. But they told us up front, they're like, don't have friends come visit you because like rapes happen here. And I thought they were fucking with us, but I guess dudes like Marines that were like buddies from boot camp and stuff have like sexually assaulted people that were like, oh, you're a fucking pogue. Yeah. Like it was a wild time. They said that like the previous Iraq deployment from 1-1, like were throwing Molotov cocktails at PMO while they were fucking driving us to Horno. Yeah. These were all so I never saw this per se. This is conjecture, but these are the things that we were told leading up to. And I had reason to believe them based off the state and condition of Horno at the time and all the derelict vehicles and stupid shit that I saw go on there. So yeah, it was wild.
Man, I spent some time in Horno. Well, first of all, let me clear up a few things. green side and blue side. So when Navy corpsmen go green side, that means they're stationed with a Marine Corps unit,
Yeah.
and they're green side. So think about like Marines being green, blue side's Navy. So if you
Yeah.
go work at the hospital on base, is that
Yeah.
blue side?
It is blue side, yeah.
Okay.
They also
okay.
kind of consider the guys that are ship's company dudes as like blue side as well, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So and PMO's military police. So they were throwing Molotov cocktails at the cops.
Yeah, I hear it was like a orchestrated ambush. They were calling and saying like, "Hey, there's some wily Marines. You guys need to get up here and arrest these guys." And then would hang up and then like hide in the bushes. Coincidentally enough, I went back to Horno in probably 2018 because I got stationed at SOI West, and there were 2 dead rabbits that were strung up by 55 cord or 550 cord and hung up on the fucking power lines right above the road. And I was like, infantry, don't you go changing ever. This is awesome.
You know, the thing about Horno and Mateo, for those of my California listeners that'll recognize these places, they were both very isolated regiments. And so like we were in places on Pendleton where like there were a few small PO units support logistics, but like for the most part, these are only infantry dudes. So we ran the roost out there in these areas, man.
Yeah. It's a gang, and there are cliques in said gang, and they're separated by mountains, and you gotta, rep your set over there, and we'll stay over here, and we'll all be cool, man.
Yeah, man. God dang, dude. I forgot because I stayed in Horno for about 6 months after my first deployment, and they had built a new barracks, and they gave us a new barracks, bro. And I had a brand new room, but that place was crazy, man. I had 2 drunk Marines one night. One brought me a baby rattlesnake and was drunk off his ass, and I was on duty, and I'm like, go put the rattlesnake down, because if I have to fucking do a report on this rattlesnake biting you, I'm gonna be pissed. And then another guy brought me a giant tarantula in a
Are you sure these weren't cats that were just bringing you dead animals as guests to your doorstep?
Drunk Marines, just they told us all the time, don't fuck with the wildlife. But what do you think a bored drunk Marine's gonna do?
Yeah, the snakes and duds brief always falls on dead ears.
Yeah. So 13th MEU, I'm sure it wasn't nothing much. How was that?
So I originally was like, they kept me in H&S company and just left me at the fucking BAS, and I was fucking not cash money with that shit. Yeah, I was pretty pissed off. But I was like, I just do the things. We had no supplies either. So I went to my first field op. They called me on Saturday and like, we need you to go to the field with weapons company on Sunday. I was like, I don't have a med bag issued or anything yet. I'm brand new. Like, I don't know. They're like, okay, just the supply guy will meet you at the BAS Sunday. Just go grab your stuff. He didn't have a med bag either. So I had a grocery PX bag, and he just dumped some shit in it and went out there. And I just like, okay. And I went out there and I linked up with their fucking company, Gunny. He's like, yo, what the where's your med bag? I was like, this is all I got, Gunny. He's like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't fucking know. Like, I'm sorry. This is all I was told. He's like, all right, I'm not mad at you. I know that you're literally just a fucking boot and you got thrown into this, because they were doing the raids package over at SOTG. So I just had to show up to do coverage for that. And I was like, oh, shit. And, but he did make a call, and they're like, here's this fucking guy. So I get reprimanded too when I get back to the VAS. Like, oh, you just had to have a fucking med bag and Skyline yourself. Like, I don't know. I guess that's my job though. But yeah.
Dude, doesn't it suck being a boot and then like somebody does something on your behalf and then you get yelled at because like that person,
Yeah. Just prep your ass to get fucked. That's all that is for a while, until you can actually you rate to be able to speak up and defend yourself for minuscule things. But even if you do it in a tactful or respectful way, like, how dare you open your fucking mouth? That was not the atmosphere of 1-1 back in the day. So, but I ended up doing a field op for recon at the time, because we had got organized in the battalion landing team and everything for the 13th MEU, and they were doing rappelling or some shit. So I go over there and, all right, I'll do coverage for them. And their SARC at the time, you mentioned the Steve Ryan show, Steve Bunting, he was their SARC. And
no shit.
He was like, hey, you want to fucking rappel? I was like, yeah, if you'll fucking let me do it, whatever. Just motivated and shit. And he was like, yeah, cool, man. And then we got to talking. He's like, who are you with right now? Like, what company and stuff? I'm like, fucking H&S. He's like, you don't seem like the type. He's like, let me tell you what, there's a a bitch ass corpsman that basically just quit his job. They're on the trailer platoon for the force recon dudes doing all the VBSS. He's like, you want to go there? Because already I can tell you'd be better suited. And I was like, yeah, dude, if you can make that happen, awesome. I showed up back to work Monday because that was a Friday field up. And Monday, my chief was like, you're just making fucking friends everywhere, aren't you, man? Like, so he's like, you want to go to Alpha Company? Which that was the platoon we got pulled out of to go. And he's like, yeah, good. So they yanked that dude back and then put me in there. And I got to do the 13th MU with,
With
Maritime Raid Force. Yeah, doing outer cordon stuff. Man, you think you're so much cooler than you actually are, doing. I'm sitting here fucking doing the outward 360 for Force Recon. It's just, there was good training and stuff. I did. The SARC that I worked under, he taught me a lot like medicine stuff, and he made me watch the old Magpul Dynamics videos because we had to shoot every week and do all these different packages, and it sparked a lot of stuff with like shooting properly and just stuff in general that I'm glad that I learned under those guys. And yeah, there was some. I always think that the MU kind of like has a shadow over it from Afghan stuff. And I didn't start thinking about that until maybe a few years ago, like just some neat stuff that we got to do in Africa. And, there was we never did a VBSS mission for us. We ended up having to hold outer cordon for some other guys.
Yeah.
That came in, swam in the night in the middle of fucking, the ocean. And then we got to sit at the brig and hold watch on this fucking prisoner for a little while. Like, okay, well, that was it. But I got to watch the Indian Navy blow the fuck up out of a pirate boat.
No shit.
Yeah, that we were going to go do. And then they don't have ROEs. So like, we'll take care of this. Like 5 minutes to give up your boat. And they went, fuck your moms. They're like, cool, 5 minutes is up. And they just unloaded like 20 mil cannons on them. And they're like, dudes are jumping off the fucking boat. Wow. I have a photo on my old iPod of this boat just on fire, just off of the Boxer. I'm like, that was rad.
Bro, that's my thing. Is like my Afghan deployment for the longest time, like, and I agree with you. Like, there's in the infantry guys and the corpsmen and all of the guys assigned to us, we're all the same way, man. Like, when you get out, everything was like what you seen in combat. But then when you look back, like my first deployment, the 11th MU, dude, we did react for the Navy SEALs and off the coast of Yemen, dude, and like that shit was real. I mean, and it's like and they had the 160 Assault Black Hawk on the deck, and they were like, if you take a picture of any of these guys, we'll fucking confiscate your phone. The Navy was being gay as shit about it, but like,
in true form.
Yeah. But like, you're right, man. Like you look back and it's like, bro, that was some cool shit. Cause we were a helo company. We got the fast rope, all kinds of stuff. We never did any of that shit in Afghan. We never fast roped over there. No. But but it's like you don't realize sometimes the cool stuff you do because it gets overshadowed, like you said, by like some of your other deployments.
Yeah. Yeah, the like working with the French Foreign Legion, we spent a good time with them and like did some ops in the mountains around. They had a base. I don't even know if it's there, but those guys are some hard motherfuckers, man. Yeah. And at the time, someone had told me they're what the Marine Corps probably was 30 years ago. Like they'll open hand slap fucking dudes for stepping out of line and shit. There was an American guy in there from Florida who got kicked out of the Army and stuff. He's like, I had to get out. I had some more legal shit too. And I was like, all right, cool. So I joined and I'm over here now. Dudes from Russia. There was a German dude, which their thing about Nazism has been like pretty strict for the longest time, but he was clearly a German like neo-Nazi or whatever. He had this he had covered up the swastikas at this point. It was like reformed, I guess, in the matter, but he had a tattoo of like the cutting label. He had the scissors on his neck and the dotted line all the way across his neck. He was a biker and shit. Yeah, there was some crazy dudes in there. But and then like just seeing how they operate, and they had the French Special Forces, and we were like setting up shit, like how they work on IEDs. The French Special Forces pulls out like a Barrett 50 cal and shoots at the IED planted there. They're just like, all right, cool, man. But,
yeah, for those of you who don't know, that are like, what the fuck is the French Foreign Legion? Look that stuff up. It's really cool. Anybody can join. Well, I say anybody. It's
they're taking murderers and rapists and stuff, and ex-war criminals is not like you're on a list for Interpol and stuff. They don't take that type of shit, but they do to a certain level. Be like, you can come on over, and we'll give you a new name, identity, and passport and all that shit. But they also said like at that time too, the likelihood that you'll die in the Ivory Coast was high. Like,
whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for those of you who like it, we're talking about the French Foreign Legion in Africa. So
Mm.
this isn't like in France. This is
No.
in Africa.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not exactly going to be stationed in like fucking France.
No. They don't have a leisurely spa duty station location.
No,
They're out there in
no.
it.
So you get back from the Mew, which by the way, for the just for your information, 3-5 man, that deployment, I was on duty when they got back.
Yeah.
And they were right across the basketball court from us, and that man, that was a rough deployment for 3-5. So I'm not saying you dodged a bullet, but like, boy, that would have been a rough go.
I'm glad that I didn't get, because a lot of the guys that I was in the training lead up with got tossed out there and they figured it out, just one of which the guy that stood next to me in field med and formations that like lost both legs within a week of being there. Like it's rough stuff. So, which to that point though, like extreme props to 3-5, but they had to learn a lot of lessons in blood that I think for us as 2-5 and even like 2-4, there was a lot of vets that were on those deployments, like a lot of 3-5 guys and 1-5 dudes that just jumped back over with us. And, all my senior like leadership was either guys from 7th Marines, Iraq, Afghan. I think we put like the Avengers together, honestly, to be able to get, because man, we did good stuff. We had our fair share of like casualties and even KIAs, but like we were fucking taking more lives than we were, giving back to them. So yeah, 3-5, I think that knowing kind of like what the corpsmen, we're dealing with out there. Yeah, definitely, dodge a bullet. That's the way. I was still pissed about, I didn't know what was going to happen to them. You know what I mean? But also like any deployment, I just wanted to get the fuck on with it. So even at the closing of 13th Mu, I was like, this isn't it. This isn't fucking satisfying daddy's bloodlust. So I gotta jump over. And a buddy of mine who was on the Mu with me, he had hopped over from a different unit as well. And he said, I've got a friend that's at 2-5 and his chief will pull us. He needs dudes over there. So, and they're going out. So I came back from 1-1 and immediately just like checked out, signed my waiver to, have my, time back in country to reassign. And I went and checked into 2-5 and we immediately went on like holiday block leave or whatever. And then we went out to Mojave Viper, did Mojave Viper, and then we had a 4-day weekend and back deployed. So yeah, I had a short turnaround from leaving 1-1 to, so I got back, I think, from that deployment like late September, and February we were out the door to Afghan.
Dude, that is well, because one of the things that when you do that workup, that 4 or 5 month workup, one of the things you do is get to know the homies, right? And so, I mean, you had what? 60, 30, 35 days and 29 Palms to figure it out.
Yeah, but that's the good part is that 29 Palms is when, we have nothing else to do besides train and get to know each other. And we got close real quick anyways, and it was fine. So.
Okay. So what company?
Echo. Yep.
Echo. So Echo went and ripped with Echo?
Yep. They literally just like, oh, this works out the same. So yeah, I think your guys' weapons company was out in Nowzad, Fox in 7171, and then is it Habib, I think, that's out where golf was?
Yeah.
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 They think they just went tit for tat on that one.
Man. Okay. So I'm going to kind of lead into this one because and I'm just going to kind of lay the groundwork so that the listeners kind of know 2-4 rolled into Shergazi, and anybody who's listened to all 27 episodes at this point will understand that, not knocking the previous unit, but they had no security bubble. We pushed it out 20 clicks in 7 months. I mean, and Shergazi is a small position. So for those of you that don't understand, it's literally like maybe 2 football fields put next to each other with a helo, a landing pad, and a bunch of tents and like 6 generators. There's nothing to the damn place. And so, and I think we had 2 fuel bladders because we had tanks. We had to have fuel. So this is nothing. So how was your first impression in country? And I'm not talking about Leatherneck. I'm talking about when you punch out. What was your first impression when you got there?
I think we flew in from Leatherneck to Shergazi, and it was there wasn't a whole lot going on. I think,
Yeah.
it was still cold. I remember that, like there was just snow, like prior to us getting there. But when all right, cool, throw stuff over in tents. Some of Echo, like you guys had already taken off to make room for us.
Yeah.
And then those that stuck around were going to do it. Like I had a very short, I think I did one patrol with 2-4 guys. And that was like a local, like mounted one. One of their
Yeah.
snipers was in our MRAP, and like, that was it. But before we stepped out on that, I saw like, here's a couple of 2-4 dudes that are coming with us. And one guy's just wearing like a fucking beanie that is like, this dude's at a ski lodge in Colorado. It was like wildly not authorized. I'm like, all right, these guys have fucking really settled into country for sure. They don't give a shit anymore. So that's pretty cool. And I also remember like the first thing I noticed is that you all had IARs and no saws. And I was like, yeah, it's a proof of concept thing over here. Like, wow, all right, interesting. We still had guys with saws, and they bitched the whole fucking time having them, but whatever.
What you didn't see was I punched out, so I would have never ran into you because I got there early and left early. So, but we had saws, but we were the first battalion in country to test the IAR in combat. So we replaced, I think, 2 saws per squad with the IAR. I'd have to ask one of the other guys that. I'd probably wrong, but I'm gonna tell you right now, dude, they were a banger. We loved them.
Yeah, like trading the accuracy versus volume of fire. Like, would you favor that? Because I'm still.
So because the IAR, and for those of you who don't know, we're talking about the H&K 416. So the Marine Corps called it the M27 IAR, infantry automatic rifle. So we had dudes punching dudes at like 700 yards with them. So yes, they were incredible. Yeah.
Damn.
They were worth the trade-off as long as you still had the volume of fire. So you still have a couple saws. The IRs were fully automatic.
Yeah.
You had them dudes watch your ammo. You could still lay down the volume of fire. I think it was still good.
I think it works now with everyone basically in the infantry has 416s, and like that makes sense. But they're just like, we're going to do the 1-for-1 swap thing. We didn't understand, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, you got that shock when you get in country where you're like, these dudes are like chilling, because the very first convoy we flew into Nowzad, and we took a convoy from Nowzad down to Shergazi, and I get in this truck, bro, and there was a corpsman. He was a fucking corpsman, and he sits back in the seat. I've got my rifle Kevlar strapped, and I'm like sitting there shaking. I'm like, we're gonna get hit an IED, and you know that route. That route doesn't have any IEDs on it, and so I'm like all cuddled up, and I look over, and he's done took his Kevlar off, putting in iPod earbuds, and it pulls out his iPod and just starts chilling. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? We're gonna get killed. And
but
like,
you end up knowing those routes so well at the end of it too. Like, I could sit here and make balloon animals for 15 minutes and not worry about a damn thing. I know what neighborhood we're gonna get into where some shit's gonna go down, but this ain't the spot, man. So we did one. We went down Route Red a little bit, and they went, we're gonna stop here though. So that's about it. And we came back up, like, okay, weird. Because they were saying, like, if you go down any farther and you're going to hook a right into Salam Bazaar, shit's going to get fucking real fast. And like, all right. And so, we didn't do that. But it was like a few days into it too. They wanted to do the, like, hey, one platoon is going to handle post and QRF. The other platoon is going to be local patrols, and the other one's going to be on long distance. We're just going to take you guys out. And we always went out to like the green zone area where like Mazarbat Shimali, Reggae, Kuchne Reggae, all those posts is like where we went to the most, and just stay for days out there. So I went our first one out there, and 124 officer came and just went with us, and we introduced to all the post commanders and stuff out there. Little meet and greet. I watched my interpreter slap the fuck out of a kid off of his bicycle. It's like, what is going on here, man? He's like, I called you guys motherfuckers. It's not okay. And like, they all get to like parent each other. They were just having a normal conversation. He just went, and that kid fucking flew off his little bicycle.
Oh shit.
Yeah. I'm like, all right, this is a fucking pretty rad country. I'm down with this. But then Shergazi had on the PGSS like a dude that was trying to lay in an IED, and they called in like a Hellfire strike on it. So they sent QRF and went and picked this dude up, and he was like cooking. But so they brought it to our forward aid station. We had a tent that was our, forward aid station. And they brought this guy in. He's technically still alive, but his chest cavity and everything's open. He's burning a little bit, just nice crispy boy, and his lungs are still doing its thing. He's doing the gas, just the autonomic nervous system still doing his shit. Well, our provider at the time was a PA. He was a prior team dude who went PA, is now a Navy officer, for us. And he's sitting there standing over this fucking dude laying on the stretcher. He's like, we're just going to let this thing do. If you can bats and hide this guy, get whatever DNA input, whatever, to see if he was some known target. But he's eating a cup of noodles and just staring at this burning dude going, man, the fucking human body is crazy. I'm like, what the fuck? This psychopath, it smells like burning flesh in here, and he's eating fucking noodles. It's like this. I know I finally made it now. And that was just kind of like the little precursors before shit really got real around there. But I'm like, yeah, this is really the wild, wild west. But
that had to have been a crazy, first, because it was the first couple of dead bodies I seen was we shoot a guy, placing an IED, kind of like that, got to go recover the body, blah, blah, blah. And that's it's shocking, but then it becomes just normal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that had to have been a hell of a shock right there.
Yeah.
Man. Wow. All right. So did you guys, so you were rotating platoons out, I'm assuming, to Salam Bazaar, Reggae down there and doing that, or no?
We did not. We went on one to Salam Bazaar.
Okay.
I don't know if the other platoons did, but second platoon went reinforced one time.
Yeah.
And that was enough. They're like, it was the hornet's nest down there. And sure as shit, man. So they brought the entire headquarters element too. So my CO, our first sergeant, who was a prior mortarman, fucking awesome guy.
Nice.
All of them, the whole fucking all the section leaders too, because all the weapons dudes were integrated with the platoon. So all the weapons section leaders were all salty ass guys. A bunch of those dudes came out, and we got off early, sun's coming up in the morning, to start patrolling. And then it just fucking, I felt like I was in the Twilight Zone, because you do your training stuff, right? In 29 Palms, and you're like, oh yeah, you hear the simulated shooting and the little gas operated things that they do. And then a round fucking zips and gives you the cracks and the whistle and shit, and your asshole goes 4 feet inside of you, and you're like, holy fuck. But the instinct took over, and then you're dropping to the prone, start figuring stuff out. And we walked into a perfect L-shaped ambush. Directly in front of us, probably 700 meters, is a compound, and adjacent to us by another maybe 100 meters, is much closer, was guys too. They popped out, and I've now got the machine gun team behind me, just start fucking shooting those dudes off to our left. And then me and my squad leader and our team leaders up front pick up these dudes that are starting to run through a little bit of a tree line kind of over to the front of us as well. So we start shooting at those guys. And the corporal that was our team leader at the time pops up and sends a fucking 203 round into that thing too. Coincidentally, those dudes that were shooting at us from the left side too, that they were not a fan of 240 belts ripping at them, so they dipped out and ran straight into our other first platoon, point blank, and just got mowed the fuck down. So that worked out. But that engagement with Salam Bazaar ended up being a 13-hour long thing. We were there from dawn till dusk, and the CO brought he got Harriers to come in and do show of force stuff. We finally got out of a way to where we weren't in the wide open. I had a zipper go between me and my squad leader in front of me, and the Ranger file, and I'm like, holy shit. One of the rounds was, as I'm laying in the prone, was maybe 6 inches away from my fucking face, and you just feel so small to there. I'm trying to just scoop up dirt in front of my face to make some wall, but we get up, and then we get up and start moving to get out, and they just start fucking shooting at us again. Is up and down shit.
Man.
But yeah, and snipers got up on rooftops too, and just fucking zapped some guy from afar. He was egressing on his moped, and just they canoed his ass. His hands never left the handlebars, just laid the fucking bike down. You're like, oh, he's leaving, and he's got something strapped across his back. Obviously, it's a weapon. Go BDA, it's a bicycle tire pump or some shit like that. It's oops, that ended up asking questions and stuff, and they wanted us to go get closer to where we were taking that fire from off but we came up on it, and it was trees that covered a compound wall that had clear murder holes like drilled into it.
Oh, dang.
This
Yeah.
is the smartest thing too. And then there were some yellow jugs laying in there, and my father's like, fuck no, I'm not going in that. So
Yeah.
they just moved us around. But then they had a drone that was watching stuff, and like there's some dead bodies laying on the other side of it and stuff. I'm like, that'll be enough for us. They called in HIMARS, but that got the other team, because the other two squads were dealing with their own situations over there too. So it was just constant, like these dudes bouncing back and forth and then egressing back to that mountain range that was off to the west. But there was enough where we had like dead bodies too. So we picked them up. They called QRF. All these guys come down from Shergazi, and here's the trucks. There's trailers. Throw all the dead bodies in the trailers, because we're going to bring them back to Shergazi and do bats and hides on them and stuff. They pull out with all these bodies into the wadi. The trailer hits a fucking IED, and all the dead bodies go flying into the wadi. So now the guys got to get out, sweep everything, and go police call these fucking dead Taliban bodies. It was like the perfect scenario, man. That no one got hurt. Like,
oh man.
Yeah, there was one dude that wasn't quite dead that our CO was like, hey, we got to fucking check that guy out. And they went and they walked up on him, and he rolls over with the AK on full fire, and just they back up enough to get the fucking muzzle concussions like past their face, and one of my lance corporals just fucking melted that guy the rest of the way into the ground. Nam with me right there on the fucking spot. Yeah, dude, it was wild. But we came back from that. We're like, cool, we got our combat action ribbons. It's the beginning of the deployment. Can we go home now? Like, no one got hurt. That did not end up being the case, but
people, especially civilians, they'll be like, they'll find out you were in the military. You talk to them a little bit, and they find out you went to Afghanistan, and they're like, well, thank you for your service. And honestly, man, I'm like, a lot of times I'll just fuck with them. I'm like, yeah, bro, it was a great time. And they're like, really? Combat was fun? I'm like, yeah, combat's fun till one of your buddies gets hurt.
Yeah, it is. I don't want to talk about it, not because it's painful, because I'll get an erection. Is what's going on right now.
Yeah. Dude, that's wild though, man. Salam Bazaar was the wild fucking West, man.
Yeah, they called it the car lot. You go down there, you're coming back with something.
Yeah, dude. I mean, for real. Like, that was the thing, is like, we had like FET team come out at a certain time, the female engagement team, and you'd have officers come out and be like, hey, take us out on patrol, and you're like, all right, bro, we're going to the bazaar. And they're like, well, why won't we go anywhere else? And we're like, we ain't taking you nowhere hot, dude.
Yeah.
Not for a dog and pony show.
Yeah, we can buy some potatoes and onions out at the bazaar right here outside the wire, but which that coincidentally later on in the deployment, shit started encroaching in on us, and fucking motorcycle VBID went off there. And of course, all they did was blow up women and children at that bazaar, but that ended up being a huge mass cas situation for the guys out there, because I was still in Kajaki at the time. We were the whole op out there, but yeah, they were dealing with that whole mess. So
out of personal curiosity, how was Ugly Hill? Was it still pretty safe?
Not so ugly, honestly. When we first went there, the range that you guys had set out, that bubble was good, and it wasn't until later on they told us that like your guys' cook has like a combat action ribbon from taking shit from Ugly Hill. It's like, what? And yeah, we patrolled around Ugly Hill and stuff. Nothing going on there. It wasn't until later in the deployment they started laying up the IEDs in that wadi right there. Like, we lost our bomb dog and shit, and like out near there. But yeah, it wasn't until later on, but it wasn't bad. There wasn't too much. Yeah. But I mean, as we had to break down more stuff too, like I think early on in the deployment, Golf Company had broke down at Habib, I think is the name of their post out there. And they left and they went to Leatherneck, and then we're flying to do operations and stuff out of Leatherneck. And then closing up on the end of the deployment, Fox Company closed up 7171, and then they came down to Shergazi. So like all of Echo Company left Shergazi and went to do the invasion of Zamindawar Valley in northern Kajaki. So there was no way of maintaining that bubble. So Fox Company was breaking down 7-1 and had to come and hold out Shergazi. And that's a little bit of how that stuff trained.
So I just want to talk about this for a second, just to kind of give you some background, because that's crazy. Because so first of all, Ugly Hill was one of our first casualties. That was our first operation to take that, because when we first got there, dude, our resupply helos were getting pinged
Yeah.
coming in.
Yeah.
And so when we pushed that bubble out, our EOD tech found a bunch of IEDs up there, found
Yeah.
two, stepped on a third one. Yeah, and we were like, oh shit. But anyway, Sangin down the valley, down the wadi. Okay, so 3-5 went into Sangin. They busted that hornet nest up. Well, then the terrorists basically went up the wadi.
Yeah.
And so they couldn't go to Sang anymore. So they went up and they basically pushed a bunch of that north, which wound up there near Shagazi and all of where your and I battalion was. So I mean, I wonder if maybe, just and out of curiosity, do you think that maybe some of that shit started to go haywire because as the battalion collapsed down, it like killed the battalion security bubble?
Yeah, I mean, the thing was that we were always able to make momentum in places, like just traditionally as the Marine Corps. The same thing in Marja, right? They have the push, but then you can't. We're not designed for holding and stuff like that, too. And yeah, so there was the momentum. You guys got to push it out, and it's going to be transient. It's just, it's what happened. But also the factor was, we're now dropping off spots and saying, hey, Afghan, you guys take this now. At the same time, now it's the summer. Like 2012 was considered the Arab Spring. So now it's the fighting season. And dudes from the Helmand River side had a bunch of people coming in from Pakistan. And then we were rolling up guys that had Iranian money on them and some crazy shit. So yeah, a lot more fighters moved into these areas. And then obviously as the Marines leave, they would call, the Afghans call us for QRF all the time. Like, we're being overrun. It was never the case. They just got shot at a little bit. In some cases they were like, oh fuck. The last time I went to Reggae, like they had got into the post. There were 3 Ford Rangers that had been set on fire and just sitting there. So like we had to go hold that, and that was a whole nother thing to go fight some dudes back and then let engineers come out and kind of rebuild their post. But yeah, I mean, it was a multitude of factors with that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is, because when it was hot, we were into it. It cooled down in the winter time, but we still did some stuff, and but that, man, that's crazy, dude. I didn't think about that, about the season change. I forgot about that because it happens with us, because were, what rotation were you on? When did you get there? What month?
I think I landed in country March 1st.
Okay. Yeah. Because we did a lot of stuff on the tail end of the summer, spent the winter there, and then a little bit of the spring. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I got back after September. Like I was in Leatherneck during September 11th, and then we did our week there and then went back. So
okay. First time you got shot at, how was that? Was that
Salam Bazaar? Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an indoctrination, homie.
Yeah, that was a fucking send them to the wolves, boys. Let them fucking see if they're ready to eat. Yeah, that was wild. And I remember first like little bit, you like get those nerves, you're shaking and shit because it became real, like real fast. But in true form with the infantry is like there's obviously still a time to like make fun, because one of the guys behind me is one of my mortarmen. He's like, "Fuck, dude, we were so pinned down." He's like, "I have to piss so bad." I was like, "Just piss. You're laying down, lay on your side and fucking piss." Well, he decided to lay over on his side and piss, but it was like the way that the land was tilled. It was a hill and it was rolling right back down at him. So I just heard, no. And of course it rolls right back down into his pants. And like forever now, that guy pissed his pants in our first firefight. I don't care how you fucking tell the story. That's exactly what happened.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. So, there's probably so much here, and I know we got other stuff to get to. Okay, so give me the time that you were like, this is it. Like, I feel like this is the point where I'm gonna get schwacked.
There were a lot of those where it's like, I did the Squidward voice. Like, too bad that didn't kill me. But we did the Triangle of Guilt. Like early on, so after Salam Bazaar was April when we did Triangle of Guilt again, and they told us about, every time they brief something, it's like they've got all these fucking fighters, they've got every weapon system known to man, like they're gonna kill you all, like whatever. But they did say that you guys had like a fucking very interesting, and I've heard a lot of this from Gabe as well, and like some of you other guys. But we went in there. Our platoon had the northern one, Barang, and they didn't treat it like the same. So we went in there and it felt very 3-5 Sangin, where it was they planted a shit ton of IEDs and then dipped out. And we're so close to the mountains there in Bahrain, you can see their caves and how they moved and shit. And so we did that. It was like a 3 or 4 day op. And, so it was us, Echo Company, and some other support, and Reinforce had tanks and shit. And I think like, was it Mama Carez and one of the other towns? I think those guys were kinetic, but we didn't have a shot and anger at all. It was IEDs, and it was them dropping mortars periodically from the mountains. And coincidentally, our mortar team too, the engineers came out and built, like, pushed up gravel and built like a little pit for us to go and like, hey, clear Bahrain, and you come back and stay the night in here around the MRAPs in this gravel wall that we've built. And the mortars had a thing set up for like 60s and 81s, and they literally had a mortar exchange in the middle of the night. Just watching our dudes. Our mortar team section lead was a fucking boss, man. He ran those dudes and they just boom, boom, boom.
Man.
I was super motivated by that. But yeah, we went into, at the end of Bahrain, that was like tough shit for us. We had our first KIA. We lost our company gunny in that one as well. He had his foot blown off, and when it was our engineer too that had passed away. And with these experienced dudes, like our company gunny is a Bronze Star recipient from Fallujah, is a fucking machine of a man. And I had that like epiphany afterwards. I'm like, oh, I'm not coming out of this. Like, if the fucking OGs are getting cooked off, like, nah, this is it. But you have to kind of like accept that, and whatever, you just get into the fucking like the real like combat mindset shit, and like, all right, well, let's fucking do it.
Yeah. I mean, you really gotta, I think that first casualty, first KIA, you always like, it hits you hard, and then you just learn to compartmentalize. You know what I'm saying?
Like a healthy adult does.
Yeah. So you being a corpsman, the one thing that a lot of people don't assume is that you're just literally out there with a med bag. But the reality is you've got an M4 and you're running and gunning with us until you're needed for doing what you do best, which is save lives. And so walk me through some, like maybe 1 or 2 times where you had to actually do corpsman shit.
So I was busy that deployment, because not only like our guys, but Afghan dudes, like, so civilians. I've been very, I think, unfortunate. It's usually a sensitive topic, is like the amount of children that get caught in the crossfire stuff. And I can tell stories about it all day. Just like, that's the ones that are like, that really sucks. All these other dudes, like whatever. But working on the Marines, and then like our forward aid station out there at Shergazi, like it was an average of every other day. If I was to take like one person, but we had mass cases that filled a lot of those as well, where we would have just truckload people come in and they were shot, blown up, maimed, whatever, in some crazy way that we had to like deal with, and then get them over to the helipad and try to evac them out. But it is significantly different when it's your boys though too. So I kind of I went up to Fob Eddy at one point, because I had my hands crunched in the MRAP door, so they shipped me they luckily weren't broken, but there was the only place with an x-ray, so I shuttled up there once, and then I saw there was a whole mass cas going on up there, so I was able to help with a kind of a gimpy hand and stuff. And those guys are exhausted. They've got all of dust off, just dropping dudes off. Here's the meat wagon, getting them going, surgically stabilized, and then push them up to the next echelon as needed. But they don't know any of the people that are in there. I've known all these dudes for a long time. Like, I know how many times that guy's jerked off on posts. Like, that's how intimate this has gotten at this point. And it's so you have to. You got to do your thing to be able to, like, one, you got to be a rifleman. Like, there is no way around that, because the best type of medicine is preventive medicine. If you shoot a dude in the fucking face who's about to light up your boys, like, you did your job. And you have to know, you got to be a good tactician. There's just a lot of parts to that. But then you got to know the medicine stuff real well, because when it does go down, like my first casualty ever was my company gunny. I had my CO there, and I had all the Marines, and they're just like, hey man, you're up. And you're like, all right, fucking don't look like a bozo. Don't let this guy die. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then the other side of that happens, where dudes will die, and then you're just like, fuck, well, what could I have done better? And I usually that's when I was fortunate at the time, like senior like Navy dudes, our medical officers and whatever, and senior enlisted guys, they like yoked me up real quick. Like the way that went down, there's nothing you could have done. Like that would just is what it is. So yeah, I can tell like the thing from Barang though is like the contrast of like no matter what I was going to do, my company gunny wasn't going to die. He was good to go.
Right.
Foot blown off and stuff. We got tourniquets on, bleeding controlled. Give him morphine. Let me do a good assessment of everything. And like, hey, he's in pain. He's screaming at me. Probably called me the N-word. I don't know, whatever. But like he didn't like those tourniquets. It fucking hurts. Not a big deal. We call in the Brits. Tricky gets him, and he's out of there. The morphine, coincidentally enough, he's like, I thought I got abducted by aliens. He's like, no, that was just English people. So close. But with our engineer, Corporal Alex Martinez, when he rolled up to us, he was on the other side of a wall. So I actually was carrying the rest of like the remainder of Gunny's foot in my pack, my ruck. And then I took his plate carrier and had it hold it over my shoulder and stuff and finished the rest of that patrol. And then our other squad was on the other side of a wall. And when that fucking bomb went off, that was 35 pounds plus, and he was kneeled down on it. And that thing lifted the damn dirt off the ground and stuff. And then they were like, hey, we got to set up, CCP. So came by and my platoon sergeant was like, yo, it's Martinez. It's not good. He's a double amp. I'm like, shit. Okay. So we got to start thinking through this process of like, this is a lot more severe. Like, and already like, I'm trying to like play out the game of like what I'm going to do beforehand, but I need to know that I need to find the proper injuries first, before I just start throwing interventions on people. And then I have all my Marines with me, which I've had to take the time to like teach how to do stuff. Like put on tourniquets is how you do it. Wrapping, bandaging, things like that. Some guys were good at IVs and whatever. It can help out where and they want to be helpful. Obviously, it's their boy too. But when he pulled up too, they had him on a Polish stretcher, and they had already put tourniquets on. I'm like, good, let's go ahead and assess that. I'm like, and it's just literally the legs. He had so much dirt on him, he looked like a ghost. He's out, and we just start doing our fucking thing. And then to the point where like when we dropped him off, then it was nighttime. So we had our time, and then Tricky came and picked him back up. But I guess what they were saying is that like an IED at that level, there's so much internal stuff going on that like we weren't going to be able to get him. So, and the Marines actually handled that in a really good way. They knew that too, because we went back that night, finished that out, went back to our little post that we were hanging out on around the VIX and everything. And the CO, I'd already heard because I was standing next to one of the vehicles and the guys were talking on the radio, like, oh shit, that dude died. So I already kind of knew, and I had to prep myself like, oh fuck, well that's that. And then I heard like, hey, CO and first sergeant, I'm going to talk to you. So they pulled me and the other corpsman, my platoon aside, like, hey, I want to be the first one to tell you. I already knew, so I didn't fucking ruin him for him. But like, hey, he did not make it. You guys are fucking crushing it. I need you to stay in the game, keep doing what we're doing, and do good things. There are more lives to save, and all that stuff. I was like, hey, roger that. Went on, and that was fine. Obviously, we had a memorial, later on back at Shergazi, which was a whole nother thing too, because they were the boys were emotional about it, and what I always do best is like, now you buried that shit, suck that tear back in, whatever. Not always the most healthy thing, but then I was that guy that they have to rely on in like a real serious situation too. And I'm like, we have the rest of the deployment left. Like this is the beginning. So I can't be the one that's shaken by this, because they need to know that they can have that, that relief that I'm there when they fucking step out, so as if I look like I'm a mess, and it's like, well, they're going to have no confidence and faith and all that. And everyone's just going to begin to demoralize and kind of crumble. So I had to like really prep myself for that.
Man, I ain't never really thought about it like that like, you get blown up or you get shot or something, like the corpsman's the one who's got to be like, I got you, bro. Like, you're good. And I've never, until you said that, I've never really thought about like how like you guys have to really bury it. I mean, you really have to bury it. We can be how we're going to be, but like you said, I mean, you've got to be the face, man. You've got to be the medical professional in the field. And so, question just for people to understand, what is the lifetime? I think I know the answer, but the time you have if you step on an IED and both you're a double amputee, how much time do you have before femoral artery bleeds out?
Oh, well, if you're so with a blast like that, a lot of things are cauterized from that heat from the blast. So, but what we always say, if you were to just flat nick an artery, you've got a 2 to 3 minute window where you bleed out, maybe faster depending on other factors. But yeah, you have that's why it's like doing tourniquet drills, like running, getting there as fast as you can, putting them on because you might lose blood significantly and then exsanguinate and die. So
Yeah.
yeah, I thought you were going to talk about like evac time though too. Is that they always push that golden hour
Yeah.
on us, and that's where we were try to get through this whole assessment and get your treatments done within a usual kind of like 15-minute ish time frame before bird comes in and gets him out of there. So I've had him land before I was like done with stuff. I'm like, oh shit, all right, we got to go. Like,
Whoa.
yeah.
Man, so for those of you who want to hear more about after you listen to this, you want to hear more about the side, I interviewed a dust off pilot who is the medevac pilots who he's talking about that when they come in and get a guy, those are the guys, man, and they're and they see the shit too. So like when you I mean, you know, and you're yeah, good point on the tourniquet drills because we had two double amputees that are alive today because guys
Yeah.
did action quick. And I did know a guy personally, a good friend of mine, got a NAM with a V for that, for saving a dude's life, for jumping on that quick. I mean, the casualties, I mean, like, I guess it's like you see them all. And it's like, how did you compartmentalize that? Like, do you remember, or is it just like you were just like, fuck it, we got to roll?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fuck it, we got to roll sort of situation.
Yeah.
But you do. So I get a lot more FaceTime with the other corpsmen in our company because when the guys were on post, like I'm not standing post, I'm on either QRF and I have a radio on me, and then usually I'm at the like forward aid station because especially the amount of dudes, they're just here comes a meat wagon, like you got to deal with that. I can't come off post and do whatever, but. So I had a lot more FaceTime with my senior line corpsman who was out there for a lot of this shit as well. And it didn't like having our PA was a prior team dude as well. Like he's been in a plethora of gunfights. He knows how all this does, but and I can always talk about like, gunfight stuff, Marine shit with the Marines, but from the medical side, like just the responsibility, like that, the weight of that situation. I always kind of think that we have like a parallel with Marines that are in leadership positions because like those guys have to just kind of fucking eat it and then deal with it on the back end. Like if you're a company commander, I told a group of dudes to go over here, do this, execute this, and they got killed in the process. If I'm a squad leader and I said, you take your team and go left and they go right, and then like whatever, we just have to deal with that. That guy dies, you're gonna be like I told him to do that. Same thing in the corpsman aspect. Like even if there was nothing I could do, it's like, fuck, that's my job. You know what I mean? Like I lost a guy, and that's just it's a terrible feeling. And it's something you learn to live with. You don't get over it, but you live with it totally fine. It's kind of just part of your story. But I had that with them there because then we were doing the same thing, and it became so saturated too that we're going through the motions, man. Like with all the local stuff and the A&A and the Afghan police and whatever, like there was, now we're just having fun with it. And then that's kind of, there's like that morbid humor shit that goes into it and all this, and they're like, whatever,
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, dude, we had an A&A guy jump off a truck with his finger on the trigger on an AK-47 and shot himself in the foot. Like, I mean, I'm preaching to the choir here, man.
Yeah.
Like, and so, man, did you do any other combat deployments after this one?
Nope.
This was the only one.
I fucking have been. That's why I'm still sitting here 17 years in. Like I've grown up and away from chasing the dragon and stuff, but for the longest time I was just trying to get back to it. And it was rough it consumes you to a certain point. Like I'm just, fighting everybody for the opportunity to go fight again type deal, which is, ridiculous in hindsight. But yeah, that was it.
But did you ever do a trach out of curiosity?
Oh, like a crike? Only on Afghan dudes, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
enemy prisoners of war are the best live tissue lab you'll ever have. I'll just without incriminating myself too much. That
Yeah, man. Like, but I mean, how did it feel the first time like you did your job and it's like you all come back and you do your job? How did that feel when you were like, okay, I've been called doc for a long time,
Mhm.
and then when you finally fucking do it for real? I mean, was there like a point where you were like, I'm actually doing this?
Yeah. Well, what was good is that I had, like I was saying before, a lot of like senior and experienced dudes.
Yeah.
So like right after my gunny was hit and we got him medevaced out, like my staff sergeant was right there, like, attaboy, keep it up. Like, you good? All right, let's go. So that was good. The old high five and let's fucking move on. And then, how they kind of coached through that. But like, I knew that I was like, I'm not bad at this. Like, I never really wanted to be a medic. I never had any like interest in medicine. I still don't. Like, I have an environmental science degree. I have no fucking intent of being a doctor or a nurse or something like that. I just, they kind of coached me through that stuff. And then in a way, I started getting a little bit of a golden boy view from them, and they were like fucking all about me, and CO and first sergeant, like, yeah, they were big fans at that point too. So they were like, all right, I'll be your guy. That's fine. This is my
Yeah.
cross to bear. I'm good with it too. So it's fucking.
I'm telling you, dude, like the like watching, I've always found it fascinating because it's like, in combat, it's easy to like, okay, this is the issue. There's a bad guy here. Okay, everyone has a job, right? But it's like the corpsman has multiple jobs, like a
Yeah.
JTAC, right? Like if a
Yeah.
JTAC's out and he's getting shot at and he's shooting, and then someone's like, hey, call for air. Now he's over here reading a map, trying to make sure he doesn't get shot, all while
Yeah.
talking to air on the radio. And the corpsman's kind of the same way in the fact that you guys are so multifaceted in your ability to just handle situations. And I know when guys get hurt, the corpsman drops what he's doing and
Yeah.
runs to it, But it's like, man, dude, it's fascinating to hear it from one of you guys. I mean, I haven't talked to some of my corpsmen in a long time. Actually, I'll take that back. I have, but
Hit them up, see how they're doing, man. Because I'll tell you what, it's a lot of corpsmen from 2-5 struggled after the deployment as well. And like, and I went through my stuff in my own way, and it was not good. And their other dudes took it a little bit differently and more extreme. Like, we even had, God rest his soul, another guy who was in our golf company just passed away a couple weeks ago too. And it's always that thing too. Same with our Marines. I've been to more funerals from guys from Echo Company after the fact than we did, while in country. So it's just, hit them up. Yeah. Sometimes they're not the ones they're so used to, like, hey, I'm just doc. This is a doc thing to deal with. Like,
right.
not don't put this on the Marines, because they're still they're dealing with their own thing from their perspectives as well. Like,
Right. Yeah. That's a good point, man. I mean, this guy struggled, had some personal struggles, and he's finally come out of it, and I was glad to see that. But so for you, any other crazy thing happened you want to talk about on that deployment?
Dude, I wrote down, like, I've got stuff on here that's just ridiculous, and even if you looked at the notepad, it wouldn't make sense. Like, what do you mean a sign that said "I just sucked a dude's dick"? I don't know. I did that to my senior corpsman at the cop. He was about to go to a fucking like a cub meeting or whatever with the CO, and I put a sign that I just wrote it on paper, just said, "I just sucked the dude's dick," and slapped it on his back. I'm like, all right, dude, you good. He made it halfway across the cop, and I was like, no, I can't let him go do it. I ran him down. Dude, he fucking put me in a chokehold for like fucking 45 minutes. Oh man, dude, there's such wild shit. But I had to ask you guys about showers. Did they have that shower thing set up for you guys at the time? Because they were there, but they were like intermittently turned on for us. And I don't know if you guys had like the opportunity for showers at Chicago.
Okay, so like, dude, I got a question for you,
okay.
but I'll save it for after this.
I'm segueing that into a fucking crazy water bottle shower situation that I had. So yeah, hit it.
If we had them, I don't remember having them at the beginning, and then they like set it up. I want to say like in the middle towards the end, but they were kind of shitty. And like,
Yeah.
I remember them just really sucking. But I remember the first shower I took, I was like, hell yeah, this is great. But
Yeah.
I go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that's what I didn't know if it was there before because they they would turn it on like once a week or every 2 weeks or something like that, and like, oh, you go
Yeah.
get your showers when you can. And then if you were on long range patrols and you were gone for days, like, oh, you missed the shower window, just be a smelly retard, I guess. But they had them turned off, and we had a mask has come through. Well, they would come in through the VCP, the
Mhm.
Danger Rangers that they were from the ANA and AUP guys. They just rolled in, and usually if they have casualties, they radio ahead and like we'll know. So I had walked out, and I was going back to my hooch, and this fucking truck just comes in sideways, and the Afghan guy just pops out there, and he's just smiling and waving at me and like pointing at the truck. I'm like, hey, dude, what's this? Whatever. So I walk up, and I look inside the truck, and there's just bodies in there bleeding the fuck out. I'm like,
Oh,
shit.
shit.
And so I open up the door, and the dude like rolls. He's still alive, but he's all shot the hell up. They've had a gunfight with the Taliban or whatever, and he is bleeding the fuck out. But he rolls out and like into me, and I'm close enough. One of my buddies was on the porch of the tent, so I was like, "Yo, get the fucking guys, bring stretchers or whatever." And I literally just moved this whole thing into picking him up, and firemen's carrying him. But I got his shirt, which is saturated in blood, just runs up in my face, all on my hair, and then I fireman's carry him back to that thing, and he's just bleeding all the way down me. So I am full-blown Rambo face of Afghan blood. My hair is full of blood, and I get him in there, and fucking just lay him down on a stretcher, and we start doing our things. Get him exposed, whatever. And I have that same senior corpsman I was telling you about. He was our leading petty officer at the time, and he's just like, he's got the thickest Wisconsin accent. He's just yelling at me like, Josh, you've got too much blood in your fucking face. You need to go wash off. Stop what you're doing. And I'm like, I cannot stop, dude. Like, we're in the middle of this. Let me get okay, you just finish that, and then you get like, how am I going to clean up anyways? Either way, I just made excuses while doing this assessment and ignored him for that duration. And then we went and made it all the way down. Evac, got those guys out of there. All right, time done. And he's like, you're fucking disgusting, and you probably have hepatitis. So he had my senior line corpsman hit with some water bottles. The showers weren't on. It's not a fucking thing. And so just stabbing water bottles. And I'm sitting out. They had like a little porch thing or whatever. So I'm sitting out in the front, and he's squirting this and getting it all down my hair, just going down further into my face. And my CO and first sergeant just heard, oh my fucking God. And I look up, and they're just staring at me with absolute just disgust. And they're scissoring my camis off of me. They're like, get him some new. They had the supply dude go over to the Connex box and get me a new set of frogs. They're just like, cut them all off of me and water bottle bath. They're like, okay, man, we turned the fucking showers on for, an early one for this fucking dude. And yeah, so they were seeing like the kind of the best side of me for all those things. I'm like just willing to do shit around. But yeah, the shower things, I was wondering, like, maybe we don't have to do water bottle showers in fucking some situations, but.
Man, I don't remember. But then some guy was talking to me about on one of these episodes, and I wanted to bring this up because I talked to him offline about it. What the fuck? Did we not do any laundry the entire time?
Yeah, you put it in the knit bag thing, and you write your name on the little tag, and then you drop it. There was like a laundry. I don't know. Yeah, it was a mobile thing or whatever. And they were down in like kind of where the motor pool was. I remember like I just go and toss it over there, and you can pick it up the next week. Because all you have in there is your frogs, and they still come out like semi-wet and musty. Then you just hang them up and dry them.
Who did the laundry? ESB? Engineer Sport Battalion?
I don't know. Some guy. I don't know.
I don't. Dude, I'll be honest with you.
That place changed so much from the time we got there to the time the end. Like, there was more civilians that came to like run the PGSS system. CBs actually came and fortified and built like hard buildings. And of course, I left like 2 weeks after they did that. And not like I was going to, enjoy any of that stuff. Everyone was still living out of tents, but like the COC got built hard and all that. I don't know. But
dude, the COC finally got an actual building instead of a piece of shit tent.
Yeah, they actually decided to break rock and put 2x4s down. It's a big, just for them to blow it up a few years later. I don't know if you saw that video. You don't know about this?
No.
Dude, it was a few years after the fact, and someone was like, it was one of my guys actually, it was like, Shergazi's fucking gone. I'm like, what are you talking about? And they sent me the video, and from the angle, you're like, I'm the perspective is like from the Salam Bazaar-ish type of area. There's like that little spot out there, and they were recording zoomed in. And at this point, the Georgians had taken over that cop. That was their new cop, and there was a couple Marine advisory group dudes that were there. This was, I want to say it was like 2014 or 15 maybe. But here comes a jingle truck right up from past the bazaar, zips into the VCP, 500 pounds, just. And I ran into a Marine that was a like bar bouncer, and he was there at the time. He's like, oh, it was 17 dudes killed like immediately in that explosion and shit. Yeah. So Shergazi was gone a long ass time ago now.
Man, that makes me feel a certain kind of way.
I know. If I find it, I'll have to ask around, but yeah.
Well, I vaguely remember someone saying there was a V bid at the ECP, but I don't remember it getting blown up to smithereens.
Yeah, it killed like all those Georgians that were within proximity.
Okay, guys, that was the end of that episode. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties. Me and Josh knew we had like a glitch. I didn't think it caused any issues, but apparently it cut his audio off for the rest of the episode. So there's about 20 minutes in there that are gone forever. Tried to recover them, but didn't happen. I do want to say thanks, Josh. Appreciate you coming on, dude. It was a killer episode, and he was great. Luckily, he will be back. We got more to talk about. I want people to write in any questions for like Corpsman or anything that he did. You know, kind of like that's something that I think some of the community's interested in. So if you got any questions, we might do those next ones live. I'm thinking we're probably going to. So if that's the case, when we schedule it out, I'll let everybody know. That way, if somebody's got any questions or something, because he has went and like recovered Vietnam veteran stuff from like Vietnam and stuff. So there's a lot of stuff that he's done that doesn't pertain exactly to combat, but that I want to talk about. Also, just all the other Marine units and the general fuckery that Corpsman and Marines get into. So I want to talk about that. And I also just wanted to say thank you to all the corpsmen out there, specifically to Josh for coming on, but also to just like, you know, the Marine Corps doesn't have medics, and corpsmen are an integral part of that. And, you know, those guys saved lives. And I know that for a lot of us, they were our bros and stuff like that. And we treat them like one of the boys, but to also remember that those guys put their lives on the line, because when it was time to put down the rifle and pick up the med bag, that's a sacrifice, because they are literally putting themselves in harm's way to save us. And I'm sure a lot of you other guys know friends or colleagues or other Marines, or, you know, that are here today because of a Navy corpsman. And, you know, we might have not always agreed with some of the ones we had, but at the same time, at the end of the day, they did the job and they did it with us. And it's just like Josh said, you know, when you, at the end of the episode that got cut off, you know, he said one of the things is if you ever say it's not my job, then you don't need to be a corpsman. Because one of the things I asked him at the end of the episode was, what is your advice to corpsmen? And he talked about how, you know, it's staying with Marine units and stuff doesn't exactly help you promote in the Navy. And unfortunately, that's a sacrifice that some Navy corpsmen make. One of the other things was he said that when you're in that Marine Corps unit, you'll have people say, oh, we need to do this and you need to do that. And unfortunately, some corpsmen will say, oh, well, that's not my job. And he said that the attitude should be, I got it. Because he said that if you're saying it's not my job, then this is not what you need to sign up to do. So for any of you out there that want to be a Navy corpsman, or that's something that you're looking to do, heed that advice, that if you don't want to be basically an infantry dude who also is first a medic and second an infantryman, then you shouldn't take that job, because at the end of the day, that's what they are. I mean, it's like he said in this episode, you carry a gun, you assault the enemy, and then when you're needed, you do your job. And so that's really important. And I just want to say thank you. Thanks to him for coming on. And thanks to the listeners, and I'll see you guys next week.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious. I'ma go cause something, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gonna live it up. Live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad.